Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Anna McNaught, and I will be your host today. And this is day 2 of Time with Simi Jois. Welcome, Simi. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you doing, Anna?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm so excited for day 2. I know we have a lot of good things in store for today, which we will jump into in a few minutes, but welcome everyone into the chat. Hello, Cody and Robert and Ferry. Nice to see you all. Don't forget to always ask us questions in the chat. And if you're watching on YouTube, to come over to behance.net/Adobe Live. And just a reminder to check out the second week of Photoshop Daily Creative Challenges with Paul Tranny. They're every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific. So Simi, without further ado, let's jump in and tell me what you're going to be working on today.
So hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. And welcome to people who are joining in today, who were not there yesterday, and welcome back to everyone who's joining in today as well. So yesterday we did some Moody images and we played around with a lot of brushes, and we played around how to do like a painterly effect and to really look at Photoshop as an extension of photography, as not something outside of your creative vision. So today we are going to do something different. I know yesterday one of you asked me if I could demonstrate how I do the rose that I'd shown you the other day, which had just the color leaking out of it, and it looked like a painting. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start with that today, and not the same one. I said, you've seen that one. So I said, let me do a different rose. So let's just jump in to Photoshop. Great. And here, this is already an edited image. And since we are going to do a composite, which is more artistic, I thought, it was not necessary to go ahead and edit it. I'll quickly tell you what I did here. I shot this rose, and the roses were more red than blue, but they had a purple hue. So I really wanted to bring in the blues. So I, I cooled the image. I reduced the yellow. I changed the white balance. I slided it towards the blue end. I've also seen with the color red, if you tend to reduce the white balance towards cooler colors, the red pops more. Something about the color red, when it has a little tinge of blue in it, it tends to be richer. And it tends to look orangish if you add too much yellow to it. So now this is the first image we are going to work with. So what we do here, just to start, I'm going to rotate it. So this is what we have. And then I'm going to create a new, so I'm going to paste it on an empty black canvas and then do, the artwork on it. So here I have picked just random, I wanted something like a banner. So 7,000 width, 3,000 height, color, you can pick any color. I want black because it's all dark and moody right now. So let's start here. Okay, give me a minute. I think my Photoshop is giving me some trouble.
Oh no.
Let me escape that window. It just won't. Let me close Photoshop and restart. Till then, Anna, can you show, give me 1 minute.
Yeah, no problem. In the meantime, hey, chat, let us know where you're all chatting in from, what you're up to today, if you're working on any fun projects. Give us some inspiration. You know, I'm feeling like I'm having a little bit of a creative block lately, per usual. I feel like it tends to happen in waves. So if you're working on anything cool, let me know in the chat, and maybe we can all inspire each other a little bit. So while Simi gets her Photoshop fixed, we'll just have a little hangout here. And all right, we will actually be back in 10 seconds. So hang tight. See you soon. All right, we are back. Apologies for the technical difficulties. You never know when it's going to happen. So, Simi, take us away.
So here we are. What I did is I opened a new file and I made a black rectangle right here, the new file. And all I did was hit create, and we have a kind of a banner, which is just black. There's nothing going on here. So now we go back to the rose image that we had, and we're going to rotate it. So I rotate it clockwise, and this is how it looks like now. So now to work on it and to create that kind of an artistic, like the colors are flowing from the rose into the backdrop. I really don't have any space here. So that's the reason I created that new backdrop. So I'm going to just push this here and drag it right here. See. Okay, give me a minute. And then looks like Photoshop is just being a little edgy today.
It's in a mood.
It's in a mood, I know. So you know what, let me come back to this image later probably, because I don't know what's happening here. Let me cancel this and let me try again. If it doesn't work, we'll just go on to a new image. Let me change that resolution to. Let me create one more, and then let's try this. And if it doesn't work, let's just go back to what was scheduled. Okay, I don't think this is working. Once more, I don't like to give up easily. So let's just try a bigger file, and let's try this again. And let's see now if it works. Yay, it did.
Great.
So now I moved it here, and this is our file that we're working on. Hold on, let me shut all the unnecessary ones here so we don't have too much going on. We don't hang the file. Yeah. So now I think what happened was we have the width and the height, and then we have this. Now I'm going to reduce this so that it fits in really nicely in the banner. Yeah, here you go. So now this is the image that we are working on, and we have this nice area that we can work on. So now, first thing that I see is I see this line, and I want to make it blend in a way that, you know, it looks like part of the picture. So what I do is I take the color black, I say okay, and I use the brush, and I start blending. Now, that's not the brush I want to use, so I choose my soft round brush, reduce the size, and start blending it. Now you can see now it's getting nicely, you know, blended into the black. You see that? Now I'm going to increase the opacity to 100 and then just play like that. Yeah. So here a little more. So now it looks more like, you know, now it looks more like a banner, coherent. Now for the fun part. So now I see that nice gray blue color. I'm going to pick that color right here. As you can see, I'm going to hit OK. So now I have that color in my brush. Now I'm going to change the brush. Now this is a watercolor brush that I have here. And then you can, there are, you know, hundreds and thousands of brushes online that are available that you can use. And just look at that. That's so beautiful. Now, if I place it right there, I see that it's not blending in with the picture. So I'm going to move it closer to the edge so that it looks like a painting and it looks like it's coming from the backdrop into the black area. So here you go, right here. Now, I want to do the same thing with the red. So I bring in the red, and either I can use the same brush or I can even rotate it ever so slightly so that it doesn't look, you know, like a uniform something happening. Let's see that. I love that. I think that's beautiful. And just to now blend both of them, you know, you have the red, you have the gray, and then you see, can you see the purple in the roses? So I'm going to bring in that purple there as well. So now I have this purple, but I feel it'll be too dark. So I'm going to lighten it. I'm going to bring it there and say this time I'll use a different brush and probably reduce it because I don't want as much purple. So reduce the brush a bit and just, you know, dab it here and there.
So cool.
You see that?
Yeah. I wonder if the person who was asking about this yesterday is in the chat. But
yeah,
I think
hope
everyone's
so
loving it regardless. So
So now I feel that this overlap is a, you know, tad too much for me. I want it to look dramatic, but I feel I need to bring in the, you know, the red a little more. So I put a mask there and I go back to the brush, change the brush again. And then I say, okay. Then I go back here, oops. And then I start bringing in the blacks a bit. That's way too much. So I'm going to delete that and reduce that to say 34%. And then just bring in more blacks here. Because you don't want the colors to overwhelm the picture. Now when you see this, you know, as an artist, as a person who has been painting, I feel it's beginning to look a little muddy. It's beginning to look like blotchy. So, I go back now, and this is the fun of working with something like this, which is creative and which is, just creating like a painting, is you don't have to really, it's all trial and error. It's all, you're just using your paints, painting over it, and then going back. So instead of that, I'm going to use the burn tool. I'm going to use the burn tool, and I'm going to use it with shadows. I'm going to reduce it to 50. And let's see now, will, darkening it help? Yeah, I think I like this. Just darkening it brings out all the elements. Yes, I love this helps. Yeah. And if you were really watching me closely, you'd see that I had hit on the mask and I was working on it and nothing was happening. So you have to switch where you're working and then use the brush. So now I love this. Just darkening it, it just makes it more dramatic.
Definitely. So I noticed, as well as with a couple people in the chat, that you were just painting directly on your flower layer.
Yes.
Did you do that deliberately, or is there a reason that you painted on the flower layer versus making a new layer?
I painted on it directly because it was already an edited picture. It was a final picture. Usually what I would have done was create new layers and work on the picture and then do it. And I think I was a little thrown off with Photoshop shutting down on me as well.
Right.
Very frank. So I was like, oh my God, what's happening?
Right.
So now I'm like more in the zone. So I think all that put together, yes, definitely create a new layer and work on it. It's always better. Don't work on the main layer. And, now that Photoshop is not acting weird, we are all good. I think this session is going to rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a good point too. Like if your edit is completely final and you know what you're doing, maybe you're just like, I'm just going to put this directly on the layer because you have your original photo somewhere, you have your backup, you've already worked on it. So I think that's a good point.
Yeah. And that also, and then when I play with things like this, it's not really a final image because I play for a day or two, then I come back to it, then I'm working again on it. So it's not like a final, image that I need to have all the layers and, sometimes I discard all of them. So it's basically your workflow. So now just create another layer as you mentioned. And you say, I'm going to dodge some of the colors here. And as you see here, I'm going to use mid-tones. I'm going to keep it at about 40. And I'm going to bring out these colors a little more. So it looks like, it's painting, even on the rose. Yeah. So I think this looks amazing. And then probably a little more burn here so it hides a bit and it looks like it's playing, it's flowing from the rose. So that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple. It looks like it's complicated. It looks like a lot was done on this image, but not really. It was pretty simple. And I think in terms of vision, it is more how you vision how the roses are and how the color is flowing. I think that's the one more important. Which brush do you pick up and how do you do that? That's, I think, the more important aspect than what you really do here. So that's the first image of the day. And I hope the person who asked me, he or she, they're here today. And they had a peek at this. Any questions about this, or should we go ahead to the next one?
I think we're good to go ahead, but in the chat, let us know if you have any questions about what Simi did here. pretty straightforward, and it's a cool effect because it looks complicated, but it looks like it's pretty simple to do.
Yeah, it's pretty simple to do. And so this is what we created. And the next one, now we're going to go into Airy images. Now, I really love Airy images because they are light. They have a lot of softness in them. They're not intense, and the colors are not like deep, rich, dark colors like we did previously. And it's more, it's more like summery. So here is an image that I shot in my garden. It's lilacs and just a cup of tea and a cap right here. So as I see this image, and when I do summer kind of images, spring and summer, I like to bring in, soft light. I like to bring in like as though the light is coming here and you can almost see the sun. So for now, I think it's tad bit overexposed here. So I'm going to go back here. And as you all know, I love the radial gradient. I'm going to take it here and I'm going to reduce the exposure so that the details are saved. And you can see that overexposure is not there so much. So now having done that, I go back and in my tint, in my white balance tint, I'm going to increase the pink a little bit because I really want to showcase here, even though the hero is the tea, but the real hero in my mind is these lilacs, because I feel just, I just want the viewer to experience the fragrance of it. It's like you're sitting there and you're absorbed in the fragrance. So I just add a little bit of that and I cool it as well, just a tad bit. And the reason is, as you see, purple or lilac color has a tinge of blue in it. When you mix blue and red with white, that's the color you get. So that's how I'm intensifying all these colors here. Then I open it and here you go. This is what I see. Now I see this, I don't like this. So I have an option of either cropping it. So I do a duplicate layer and I say crop. I usually don't like to crop my images because I feel I have literally lost some real estate there, what I shot. So I'm very careful how I shoot. But in this case, I think just bringing it down a bit helps me to also bring the viewer into the scene. So here you go, a little bit, and I am leaving this a little bit and I have reason for that. So I say, okay. So now I go in, expand, and I start seeing that, even this is slightly overexposed. So I'm going to go back here and darken it. So either you can use the burn tool at highlights because there are highlights here, and you see how that works here. Yesterday we didn't use that, but you see here it starts to make it muddy again, which I really don't like. So I'm going to remove that layer completely, create a new layer, and I'm going to go back to camera raw and say okay. And I'm going to go back to my camera raw right here. And every time I do that, I'm thinking, oh, okay. So there you go, and use the brush tool here. Remember we did this yesterday. Just brush it on the overexposed portion and a little bit bring in the details. While I'm at it, I'm going to increase the tint here because I need a little purple there. And okay, so now that looks good. I like that. Now all the image doesn't look like it's underexposed anywhere or anything like that. So now the second layer, I'm going to add some light. Let's play with some light here. And I'm going to say light. So now, since the image doesn't have any yellow hue, it is more towards the bluish end, I'm going to pick the white color towards, blue, a mild tint of bluish white. And then I'm going to use my brushes here and go back here and see I have downloaded some brushes which says light. And these are really cool, you know, rays of light. So now you know this one won't work. This one might work. So I like this number 7 brush, but it's in the wrong direction, as you can see. So I'm going to tilt it in a way, and you can do it right here, a little more. So now this is perfect. Now you see it's at 34%. I'm going to increase the brush size a bit, and right there. So now my brush is outside the scene because I don't like the top of this brush a whole lot, and I'm going to give it like a little light effect, just a tad bit. See that? Now I don't like it. I feel it is a bit too much, because a person who knows Photoshop, they can easily tell that this was created, and we want the more natural look. So I create a mask right here by clicking on the mask icon, and then we pick the black because that will hide, and then we rub on it 100%. And we remove some of the stuff here. So just you have a tad bit, right? Now, you know, I love this image, but I think just adding a little more of depth. And I know yesterday one of you spoke about curves. So we're going to use curves, and you'll see how curves creates a beautiful depth in your pictures. We go here to image, adjustment and curves, and then we tad bit, just see that. Now you can even see the ray as well, right?
Oh yeah, that definitely helps it come out more.
So it comes out more, and then you have this little gaping hole here, but you know that there are, you know, waves coming from here. And even if you want, you can even darken it a little bit. But I like the subtlety of it, because when you're looking at the image, you start seeing nuances. Not everything should be on your face, you know, that it's very highly visible. So let's go here and see what we did. We started with this image, then we cropped it a bit in, then we added more, little bit of underexposed it here to bring out the elements, and added a lilac purple color. Then we added this ray of light, and then you know, you can see it now. It's really playing that.
Oh, yeah.
And then we added a little more depth. You could even do a contrast here. And then that really finishes up the image. So it's not, I have seen Moody pictures are more Photoshop heavy, whereas pictures like this, which is light and airy, a lot is done in camera, because all the bokeh, all the lights, and it's just the small subtle things that just makes it, you know, pushes the image to another notch. So now let's open the second one. And if there are any questions, do let me know. And we can, you know.
Chris just said, where did Simi get the ray of light brush?
Oh, I just downloaded it from the internet, and you know, that's where I got it from.
Okay.
So just say rays of light, lots of free brushes, and even sometimes you get, you know, a lot of people have sales going on, especially at this time of the year, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So Photoshop brushes are always on sale. Keep a watch out. But these was a free download, I think.
Okay. That's such a good point. Very good time to download any sort of brushes, presets, LUTs, you name it. Like Black Friday and Cyber Monday are always a good time.
Yes.
Keep that in mind. Pro tip.
So now I remember somebody asked me yesterday if, you know, we could do a drink. So here is a drink, and this was shot with very low aperture so that I get this nice, there was a fern behind it. So I wanted the nice bouquet effect. And that's the thing about light and airy, you know, I go low on the aperture so that it's not tack sharp and everything has a dreamy look. That, and it was, I think, shot by the Sigma 85 art. Now everything is great. What was happening when I took this picture was I kept a mirror here and it had a round, ugly reflection. So I was not able to bounce light. I kept a white card. It had a white, you know, little blotch here. So I finally I clicked it in a way that this was perfect and not washed out, because when I was lighting this, exposing this was getting completely washed out. So I shot it in a way that this was completely visible. All the colors had not washed out, but I knew I could work on this on Photoshop. And you know, you'll really see this image come alive. This is one of those rare images where I use a lot of Photoshop, you know, in light and airy. So again, I go back to the brush and I literally paint the whole glass because it's so dark, and a little bit on the plate. And then there's this flower right here. And then I expose it. Right now, you'll just see it come alive. See that? It's just, it was here, probably here. Let's go back. And now just see that. Love that.
Yeah.
Right?
So
I
better.
knew, yeah, so much better. And I knew that I could do this in Photoshop. And that's the reason I didn't use, you know, I didn't worry about it. Now I create a new mask and I say brush again, and I do the same thing here. So now somebody was asking yesterday that when you shoot a drink, what kind of light do you use? Now this is a backlight. And this is what I meant when I said yesterday that, you know, when you use backlight for drinks, the light really penetrates into the drink and it has the transparent, you know, look to it. This is what I meant by it. So I'm going to make it a little more light here to bring out the red color. And a little more light here, because I don't like to have shadows when I'm doing light and airy. So there you go. I hit OK. And today we're going to do a new brush. So now you see it looks great. The only thing that I'm not crazy about is this patch here, which looks kind of washed out. We're going to, you know, fix that. And everything else looks great, but I really want the small petunia to pop and the leaf to pop. So we're going to work on it. So I'm going to create a duplicate layer and say flower, because we're going to work on flower here. So, and I go okay. And it's not, when I'm naming my layers, I'm not always naming them by what I do there in terms of what the name of the brushes. Sometimes I'm even naming them like flower or leaf, because then if I want to hide it, everything that I'll do with the flower, I'll do in this layer, so that if I don't like it, I just, you know, I can just, you know, have it not seen, or I can hide that layer or delete that layer. So that's just my style of working, and you can, you know, there is no right or wrong. So I go to the flower here, and I'm going to, you know, increase, and you see a lot of details here. So I'm going to use my dodge tool and go really close and lighten the light parts, just bringing it live. And then I'm going to take the burn tool, but remember we had it on highlights from the last image, change that to mid-tones, maybe a 40, reduce it, and then just go over this line. And you know I work with a mouse, we spoke about it yesterday, but I somehow get it done here. So now you see that looks great, right? I love it.
Yeah, that
So,
looks really good.
so
Sean,
now you go.
I see your jokes and I'm not laughing, but it is funny. Sean said his favorite food to eat while taking photos is snapper. I was laughing internally, but I didn't want to interrupt Simi's hard work.
I like that. That's funny.
I know, it's good.
So now I did that. Now, I also see little details here, which I would love to work on. And I'm going to just go back to the flower and go back to my burn tool and just go here, because I do see details here that I would love. Even though it's so tiny, just God's in the details, I tell you. So here you go. Create another layer and do the same thing for the leaf. And when I do workshops with my students always tell me I have hawk eyes, because things like this, I will look at all of this and I'll be like, okay, this doesn't look good. And that's about food photography or any kind of photography where you're looking at the minute detail. Everything counts. Everything adds to the final image. So I love this. I love the way the leaf is. It's almost like, swimming in the juice. Again, take a little bit of burn here, and that was dodge. We need to delete. It's very easy to delete. Go to your history, hit the little, delete, and that's it. Go back here, pick up the burn tool, and 40 is a little too much. So I'm going to go like 30. Just a little bit. So we know now, having done that, it creates that depth that it's floating on it, right? Now, while I'm here, let's clean up a bit, and I'm going to say spot healing. And this was a drink I made from berries. So obviously these are little berry seeds, but I think they're way too much for my liking. So I'm going to just clean up a little bit. And you see how spot healing is such a good tool to use. There you go.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
That helps a lot. And while I'm here as well, I see these nice highlights I can work on, So I'm going to go back here, create a duplicate layer and say I'm working on the highlights. And I say, okay. And then I go back here, use the dodge tool, use the highlight. 88 is too much. I'm going to go down to 50, reduce the brush size, go in. Oh, this is way too much. Go back here, maybe a 10. So this is where you do your trial and error. You do your, So now, a little bit. And sometimes you don't even have to, just up. That's it. A little click. That's it. And now you see the, I love this portion of it. Now let's go back, reduce it and see. See that? How it's really come alive.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
So now I see these little dots here. Somewhat bothers me a little bit because I think it's ruining the nice look. So I'm going to go back here and say spot healing again. And then hit OK. And spot healing is this one right here, and just go. We don't have to remove all of them because that's part of the drink. So just a few so it doesn't look. Here you go. Not on the eyes because we don't want to show the eyes is dirty or something. Here you go. Ah, I love it.
So pretty.
Okay. So now, remember we spoke about this little gaping hole here. So we're going to try something which I've never done before. And I was like, okay, might as well. So now we have all this. It could be that little fern plant that had in the backdrop that, could be extending here for all you know. So let's try that. Let's see how that goes. And I'm going to just call it duplicate. I'm just going to call it brush. I was reading off that. So I'm going to say brush. And I'm going to pick up this, and I'm going to pick up the lightest of the colors here. Yeah, probably that one. Let's start with a little darker one and then move to the lighter if that doesn't work. And say, okay. Now I pick up the brush. We have the light here. We don't want to use that. Go back to your brushes and, go back to your soft round. Reduce the size. You can even do that with the left arrow button, the left curly bracket, or this. Okay. Right here. So this is one way of increasing the brush size, or you could use your curly bracket. So now let's see. I'm going to delete this because that was an accident. I'm going to increase the brush size. Now see, I'm going to increase the brush size to just fit here. Then I'm going to go outside of it, just have half of it come there and just click a little bit. So I like it, but I'm not going to use the same color. I like one of them, the other one I don't like, so I'm going to delete the other one. So I have that. Then I'm going to pick another color and it's just too bright for me, so I'm going to go lighter. There you go. And I'm going to go like this and a little like this. So for me, I think I like that, but I want a little more green there. So I'm going to go back and pick slightly darker green, but this time really reduce the size, the opacity of the brush to low, lower it here, and here you go. And just keep, oopsie, here. I think I like that because it's not white and it's not glaring at me. And that's, a personal choice. You can even go ahead and crop it here. That could be an image. So there are a lot of choices that you can make while, working on it. So let's go back to where we started. Let's go over what we did. So this one was shot a little underexposed. The drink was underexposed so that the backdrop could be nicely exposed. And the reason was I didn't want it washed out. That's where we started. We took the image in camera raw and we used the brush to select the hero. And then we added the exposure and light to it. And then we came back and we saw a lot of details on the flowers, and we worked on the flower as though, light is just penetrating into it. And then we did the same thing with the leaf. Then we did spot healing and clean up. Then we added some highlights in the drink. And then we did more spot healing and we cleaned all this up. And then finally, we added some little greens here so that the white is not glaring. And that's a personal choice. I like it either ways. I like this as well because it's just bringing out the whites in the image. I also like the green. So that was image number 2, 3.
So much better. It's incredible. Like what a little tiny editing here and there, little touches of dodge and burn. It makes such a drastic difference on the image.
Yes. And I think it's just the details, just keeping to the details and looking at small things and keeping everything is looking straight, or how does it look? What's the angle? All those adds up.
Right.
Any questions, Anne, in the chat room?
No questions right now.
Okay. Either everyone is asleep or I'm doing a good job. I hope it's the other one.
I think you're doing a fantastic job. Everyone's loving it. Everyone's very interested with it. So yeah, you're doing great.
Perfect. So let's have the next image. And that is, while we are at the drinks, let's do the drink one. And we open it. Now this was also shot with the shallow depth of field. And this was also backlit. As you can see, this window and there's stuff going on here. But this is not as underexposed. The drink is not as underexposed as, you know, the previous image. Again, I'll go a little faster in this one because I already did that one in detail and I went really slow. So here is an image. You get your brush. We all know this. I love this brush. Select it and select this. So I'm just going to add more light here. That's about it. Love that. And now I'm going to even increase the saturation because I think we can just do that because it's, I want to show you all something really fun here. Now, if you want to change the color of the drink, you can go to color mixer right here and, you know, I'll show you. This is not, so play around with the sliders a bit and you can really change that. I mean, that looks way too much, but here you go. You can, you know, if it doesn't look real life, or you want to just play around sometimes, just, you know, play around. I'm not going to do that because I love the original color. And this was shot for a catering company and they have this particular color of juice. So now I see now, as you all can see, it's tilted, you know, so that's the first thing we're going to do because we don't like tilts. So let's say straight. I'm going to straighten it. And what I do is use the crop tool, take it to the edge. Now you have the grid to guide you. There you go.
Perfect. Jason is wondering who makes the drinks.
Who makes the drinks? This was made by a friend of mine. She also runs a, you know, catering company in Chicago.
Wow.
And it's called Amlu Tasting, and she's really good. She's really good.
So, they look amazing. They're making me just want to take the afternoon off and have a cocktail and sit by the pool, even though it's like 50 degrees out.
I know. We did enjoy it, and it was amazing. It had some lychee in it, and I don't know what else she put in it, but it was amazing. I loved it.
Sounds so good.
Yes. So now I see, I don't like the writing on it. Now there are two reasons for it. We don't want to bring any, you know, any writing on something that is branded for some other brand because we're taking it away from their brand, or even for Adobe Stock. It is not, you know, this will not be accepted because it does have a brand name here. So I'm going to clean that up. And as you all know, spot healing. Now to all my students who are watching right now, and you all tell me how difficult it is to spot heal, really the way to do it is enlarge it. You know, I always get it. When you do it, it happens. When we do it, it doesn't. So really enlarge it. Then use the spot healing brush. Tiny, tiny, tiny. That's how you do it. You can't take the whole thing and do that. You have to take small brush. That's how you know, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. It just takes a little bit of skill and patience. So if you do this right now, it may work. This is what happens.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why it doesn't work. So again, small brush, and then click content aware here, and then yeah. So stay with me here. I know watching someone do something like this can become boring, but
you make it look so easy though. I'm like very intrigued with, I mean, I've gotten better with the spot healing brush, but I usually use the clone stamp, and seeing you do it so like delicately and perfectly, I'm like, maybe I should get back into that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard so much about the clone stamp. I've used it a couple of times. I don't know why. I'm just used to the spot heal. And I know a lot of people are not in love with it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now the other way of doing this is, let's bring this layer back, let me create another layer and call it paint. That's, if you have a larger area, it's not really working. And just pick up this color. You may not get the same texture. Reduce the brush size, increase the opacity to say an 80, and then just paint over it. I'm not going to sit and do the whole thing, but you got the deal. You have to sometimes overpaint it. You could do that as well. If it's really curvy and it's a small place, and you can do that as well. So basically, and then while you're doing that, I would just clean up everything and make it look like it's one seamless thing, something like that. So that I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to show you all. Now, having done that, here we go. I like it already because it's nice and clean.
Yeah.
I go up here. I want to look and peek at what's happening here. So I like that. I'm going to clean this up a bit and just add a little more depth here. And then we are done with this image. Let's go back here. Duplicate layer, and I'm going to call it the hero. And I'm going to spot heal. And you could do it in multiple layers, or you could do it in one layer. Since, you're already taking up so much time for the first string, I'm just going to do it in one layer. So I like this. And I'm going to take the burn tool. I really have used the burn tool in this session a whole lot, and I'm going to add a little touch, just like a touch, just one click, that's it, a little color. And then I'm going to use the dodge tool, and again just one click to add that pop. So I'm just darkening the edges and adding more light in the front, and I'll show you how it looks. It really helps. Look at that.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah,
so you really
like
feel that pop.
Yeah.
So when I did that, I'm thinking we should do the same for this guy. So I'm going to call this the side hero, if there's a word like that. And then go back to my dodge, my burn, just one click, not much. And then dodge, just one click, 2 clicks probably, and do the same here. And then go back here. I like it. Maybe a little more this way. Now, look at that. It just adds that pop.
Definitely.
So now, one more thing. In the last image, you saw me add color there. And that's a personal choice. Here, that will really work because the bouquet is so creamy, you really can't see the backdrop. So I'm just going to add color there, and I'm going to say background because we're going to add it to the background. I'm going to pick this color right here, say okay, pick the brush. It already has the soft brush, and that is too much, so I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to reduce it to 50. See, perfection. You don't see that little black there. See that?
Yeah. That's really nice little detail.
Yeah. And that's about it. I could just add more light here and things like that. And, you all already know how to do that. So we can move to the next image. Any questions?
Let me scroll back through. I think we're good.
Okay, perfect. Let's go to the next image, which is, I think I'm going to do this one, which is cherry blossom. Yeah, I like this. I'm going to do this one since we are into bringing in the light. So now in this image, I loved it because, I don't even know when I clicked this image, I saw these bouquet and I was like, where did they come from? And I fell in love with it. And I was like, I love it. And I just love the angle I shot it at. So I'm going to make this as the highlight. I'm going to make this as, not the hero, but the part of storytelling for this image. So here I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try changing the color to a mild golden yellow, changing the white balance right here. So I'm going to go back to the masking. I'm going to use the radial gradient and pick this and make it slightly yellow so that it feels like the sun is peeking from there. And I think that was it. It was the sun peeking and creating that effect, and increase that light there. I know the highlights are blown out, but it just, I feel, adds to the story. I did that, and I'm going to go back and create a new mask. Select subject, not select subject, I'm sorry. Mess that up. Hold on, let me cancel that. And that happens in Photoshop quite often. Okay, go back here, masking, create new mask. Again, I'm going to use the radial gradient and go to the backdrop, not where the highlight is, and do the same thing. See that? And I go right here. I love that.
Yeah, that's so pretty.
And I think that looks beautiful right now. And I'm going to say, okay. And it opens up in main window. Okay. Now see how it really lights that corner up. Now we're going to bring that light here. We're going to bring the same light in all of this. So I'm going to create duplicate layer and say, call it light. And say, okay. And the reason I'm doing it in a new layer and I'm going to go back in Camera Raw is to show you all later how the image looks. So I'm going to go back, Camera Raw, and do the same thing here. And since the flowers are white, we're not going to add so much of the color yellow here. We're going to keep it. We'll see how, how it looks. I'm going to use the radial gradient again. And I want the light almost like falling from here. Right here, right? Just try making it yellow. I don't like it. I don't like it yellow, as I said, because it's really making it too yellow. So I'm going to keep it to how it was shot. Right, increase the radial filter and say okay. Okay. I really like it.
Yeah,
so now,
so pretty, so soft. I love that, like, kind of soft feeling to it.
Yes. So now I want to bring in this light as though I want to connect this to this. So I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to call it Dodge. And I'm going to teach you how to use the Dodge tool to do that. So I take the Dodge brush right here, reduce it. And remember the time when we did the rays of light? Same way. Now this is too heavy for me. So I'm going to reduce it even, not highlight midtones, and keep it to say, between 20 and 25 is good. And then pull the light here. So literally I'm pulling the light. It feels like the light is coming from here into here, right?
Yeah, so gorgeous.
I'm gonna, just have the light blend here. That's it.
Amazing.
Nothing more.
Jason is asking what your favorite lens is when you shoot these type of images.
So my favorite lens for something like this, which is soft, is the 85 Sigma Art. I love that lens because I think it's just so creamy, and it just creates magic.
Yeah.
I love the 100 too, both from Nikon and Sigma. And of course, the 50 is very versatile. So I started using 50, and then I moved to 100, and then I think 85 will be my favorite. Yes.
Awesome. It's a good one.
So yeah, and then just pull the light even more and see that little shadow there. No, this is where you keep your eye on the minuteness. See that little line of shadow? Just increase that, So we know that the light is falling, and just a blotch here, a blotch there, and this adds to the charm of the picture. Mm-hmm. So basically, when you are dealing with light and you're telling the story of light, because photography, you should always remember, no matter who the hero is, ultimately the hero is the light. And then, so if you have shot in a particular way, accentuate that. Whether you are doing it in Photoshop, whether doing it in camera, just start accentuating that. And little details like how this book is. The way I framed it is, it's directly in line. I don't have to crop the image. I don't like to waste real estate on the photo by cropping it and reducing the size. So I make sure all these details I am, aware of when I am, taking the picture, when I'm framing it. Just a small photography tip there.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Doesn't look like it right now. We have artist spotlight in 26 minutes, a little less than that. So we'll be doing that soon. But until then, yeah, you can keep on working.
Perfect. So let's do another one, which is light and airy. And this time, let's again play with light. This is another image that I really like. And this was shot on, it was a birthday party that we were shooting. So you see how the light is so beautiful here. Yeah. There's this man who's, watering, and there's an outdoor dinner party going to happen, and there's just error, she's arranging the table for it. So I love the colors. I want to bring in more yellows. During this time of the year in Chicago and Midwest, the light has a yellowish hue to it. It has a nice golden hue. And this is what I really want to bring here, so that the whole setup looks like it's dreamy. So again, for that, I'm going to use the Radial filter, and I'm going to go just here where the trees are, and I'm going to make them a little yellow. And you already see that the light is becoming, that fall kind of feeling you get.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to create a new mask, and again do the Radial, go back here, and even make the water a little yellow, as though, there's sun streaming into it, which it is, but instead of white, you have a little bit of yellow. Maybe add a little more here. Maybe add a little more here as well. Go and add a little yellow there as well. I love that. And let's see if we add a little more pink too. That's perfect. Now this is what I'm going to open the picture now. And I see, as soon as I see this picture, I find this chair doesn't belong there. It looks awkward, and then there's this little mosquito repellent thing there, which again doesn't really contribute anything to the picture. So maybe at this point, I will make a choice of cropping it, because even if I spot heal this, it's not going to do much to the image. It's not going to add anything. So I just say and crop, and I'm going to do just that. To see this, I'm going to use crop, and I'm going to crop this right here. I'm going to keep a little bit of it because I'm going to crop it to the wall, and we can heal this, because I like that little, if I do it here, I think it makes the picture a little smaller. So I like it this much. I'm going to crop it, And I'm going to say, okay. Now we're going to remove, there are a lot of unnecessary things in the image. You see the wire running from here.
Yeah.
Then you see the chair here. And then you see the something by the steps here. So we're going to clean all that up. Again, I'm going to go to spot healing. And thankfully, spot healing hasn't, has saved us. And it's pretty easy. Again, enlarge it, use it little by little. This one is a little tough because it's got so many details, but it's not that difficult.
I'm curious to see how this works with the big spot like that.
Yeah, you have to just keep doing it, but it works. And I'll show you how. It's not so bad.
Yeah. Better than I would have imagined for.
Yes. You were like, okay, she's going to do spot healing here. God save her.
I know. It's like, oh, this is a challenge, but easy.
Yeah, it's not. It's just like, you clean it up. And I know you have now I'm going to tell you something else. So now you see here, it looks like terrible a little bit.
Right.
All I do is pick the same color, say, okay. And I keep it on the same layer because I know the chair is on the same layer. Pick the brush and just reduce it to 28. We don't need these details here. Oopsie. There's the brush here. Let's see. Yeah, I think that worked great.
Yeah.
Except that little thing here, I don't know what that is. And maybe just adding a little more shadow there because we don't want to highlight that part. By adding the shadow there also, everything else pops. That's it. Now we go back and we work on these. And you see here, there's a brand name right here. I'm going to get rid of that.
I wonder if we could remove the whole bottle.
We could remove the whole bottle, and that's what I will do. We could either paint it black or just, it's not so. I'm getting ambitious and using bigger brush strokes. And sometimes you go from the top, then go from the bottom. Okay, not so bad. I'm telling you, you'll never look at spot healing the same again. There you go.
So good.
Gone.
Perfect.
Then, thankfully, that bottle is gone, and now the pipe needs to be there because it needs to show where it's coming from. I'm not concerned about the pipe. I don't like this wire. Oh, it's not a wire. It's a, what do you call, architectural thing. It's a thing, but still, I find too many lines here, so I'm going to remove that.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep that because that is, and then I'm going to remove this. I remember placing that myself, so too bad. I should have taken it out. And there you go. And we don't need that shadow. Clean up that so that we don't. Yeah, I love that.
So good. Yeah.
And now let's try something new because I think we've been using the same brushes. We're doing the same things. Let's try something new. And let's try light. And I'm just going to call it light because I want to show you what we can do. So now you go to filter and you go to render and you go lens flare. Sometimes you can do so much with it. And I'm going to move it right here where I think the sun would have been. And since I shot that, I know where the sun was, right? And I'm going to keep it at AD and C if it's too much. I love it.
Looks good.
Yeah, I love it. Even though, it looks like, but the only thing I don't like it is I think it's too much, or maybe I'm nitpicking. We can, slightly reduce the curvature here and put the brush a little up. We can try that. Let's disable this and go back again, and then we can compare the two. So once again, filter, render, lens flare. And I'm going to move it a little more up. So it's almost by the edge. Bless you.
Thank you. Oh, it
Nice.
snuck up on me.
Okay, so that's it. I think they're pretty similar. So this one's one, and the one is a little lower. Okay, this is none. This is the first one. This is the second one. I think it's pretty similar. I can't go higher than that. I like it, in fact. I really like it. And I want to bring in more shadows, more contrast in this image. So I'm going to use curves so that, we have a little more drama with light. I'm going to say image, adjustment, curves, and then, yep, I like it. See, the shadows are becoming a little stronger.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you see a lot of action going on here. You have light, you have, a woman working, and you have a human element. So we started off with this image, which was a little cooler. So we added the yellow in camera raw. Through white balance, we moved the slider towards warmer tones, and we added that here, and then we cropped it so that we don't see the chair. And then we did spot healing. We removed the chair, we painted it, we made it a little dark there because that's a corner that doesn't make, not contributing much. Then we did healing, spot healing, and removed the bottle, added the light, and this is double light. We added the light, and then the curves. The curves just makes it, the image to speak, just adds depth to it. That
So
evening
good.
look.
Yeah. I feel like you can really get a sense of the warmth of this image and like the feeling being there too. It makes me want that late summer, early fall vibes back. I'm like, oh, why does it have to be winter already?
I know. And it was a beautiful shoot because we had all the women dressed in white. And the senior citizen whose birthday it was, she was dressed in a pink.
Wow.
And the sun was just glorious, and it was right here, and it was just a beautiful photo shoot, and it's just got so lost in my camera. Any questions at this time?
Nothing right now.
Okay, so let's go back to the next image then. And we already did the drinks. Maybe we can do the picnic image. And then we can stop for the artist spotlight and do the rest after that.
Sounds good.
So this is a picnic which was shot in summer. And as you can see, everything is nice and green. But it was so hot that the grass is almost, dying because it's not green enough. So now we're going to make the grass greener, the sky a little darker, and just make this image pop. So I'm again going to use the masking brush, and brush the grass. So brush the grass and just the grass, nothing else for now. Make the brush. You can use the curly left bracket to make the brush smaller, and here's the grass. Then I'm going to use the tint to add more green. See that?
Yeah.
And trust me, add a little more blue, it becomes greener. See, the yellow makes it really dead. So add a little more blue there. So little green and little blue. Then paint this as well, the yellow portions of it. Now you can really see them. So now the grass looks nice and green and cool. And if you don't like the blue, that's fine. We can reduce it. Maybe reducing a little bit helps. Adding a little more green. So that's one. Now I wanted the sky to be a little darker. So I'm going to create new mask. Again, I'm going to use the brush. And here I'm going to increase the brush size by using the right curly bracket. And I'm going to brush the sky once and then double it here so that we have that gradient, because we see that gradient in the picture. And reduce the exposure. I love it.
Yes, perfect.
I think it makes it really look summery, and the blue skies look beautiful. While I'm doing that, if the sky is that deep blue, the water should be that deep blue as well. So again, brush, reduce the brush size, just the water, and then, yeah, I like this one. I think this is enough. This looks good. Maybe just add a little more by changing the color temperature. And then I see a little gap here. That's perfect. Like, it looks good. And I'm going to open the image. So we've really done a whole lot in Camera Raw here, just adding to the green tones and making the sky pop more. But I want the food also to start popping a little more, so we're going to work on that. So I'm going to use two new things here today. For first, I think this is too much light here, so I'm going to take it back into Camera Raw and do that. Probably add a little more light in this region. So I'm going to say duplicate layer. I'm going to call it food. I'm going to say okay, and let's go back there. Filter, Camera Raw filter. So here we are, and this time I'm going to use the radial gradient. Open it up here because this is where I want the light to be. Yep, I like that. Then I'm going to do another one. Reduce it here because we don't want it so overexposed. I love this. Yeah, it pops now. Pops now. Now to add more depth to this picture, because I love it, but I think it's not like literally the scene is not popping as much. So I'm going to try using curves. And if it still doesn't work, then we're going to add a little more depth. So I go back to curves, image adjustment, curves, add a little more depth. That'll make the blue. I love the shadows showing here. I really like that. Maybe a bit too much. Yeah, I like this. I say okay. And now I see the food also has too many shadows. I'm going to go back. I'm going to duplicate the layer and I'm going to say dodge. Say okay. Just going to add a little more light here. Again, I'm going to use midtones. 23 is good. Reduce the brush size. Go into the grades. Just create little waves. Shows like, you have nice olives here. You have vine. You have hydrangeas. Just add a little more light here. And to the flowers as well. Not a whole lot, just attenuating it. That's it. Now here, I want to try something new, which you can do And now this seam, I want it a little sharper. Say you wanted something sharper. It's not that it's not sharp, but say you want to pop a little more. You create a new layer and you say you want to sharpen it a bit. So I'm going to take the quick selection tool. I'm going to select just a few of it, not a whole lot. Just the food of it, the food part of it. Maybe I'll take the hat as well and the straw here, and this is it. And now I do layer via copy, and I do filter, other, high pass, filter, other, high pass, and instantly it selects this. I'm going to reduce that. That's way too much. Maybe to a 4.2 is good. I do OK. And now here in this area, I go and I can do overlay, which is, I think, a little over the top. I like using soft light. You can use different options. I like soft light. So what it does, it accentuates it a little more, if you can see.
Yeah,
like a little more.
Good. Yeah.
Just a little pop. As I said, you know, it's all in the details.
Yeah.
Now I wanted a little more pop. So I'm going to go back to the previous layer and I'm just going to take the burn tool and just burn the edges a little bit more. Just to make, you know, the center pop. You know, being a painter, I always like to do the last touch. Now, I love this. We started with a very dull looking grass, which we fixed in Camera Raw filter. And then we came back here, we worked on the food, we made it pop, we used curves to just intensify the colors and bring some contrast. We did dodge again to highlight the food again. Then we used, what tool is that? We used high pass to just make the food pop a little more. So yes, this is what it is for this one. How much time do we have, Anne?
We have 9 minutes until the artist spotlight.
Okay, so we have 9 minutes. Let's go to another one if we don't have any questions.
Yeah, everyone was just saying, Cody said this is such a peaceful photo. I agree. I was just like imagining myself there as you were working. It's just so pretty.
Thank you. So I'm going to take this one because it doesn't need a whole lot of work. I'm going to say okay, so that we do it in 9 minutes, and I'm going to have and take us to the artist spotlight. I just love this picture because it's just, you know, in my studio, and the window just adds to the charm of it and bringing in the summer. I'm just going to make the flowers pop. And again, I'm going to use the radial filter, radial gradient, and add more light here. Oops. And go back here, create a new one. Use the brush this time. And I'm going to sharpen the flowers a bit. I know all these images are shot on very low aperture, and it's not, everything is not tack sharp, but a little bit of sharpness and clarity and dehaze, you know, a little bit helps flowers. You can see how they look so beautiful right now. Now here, I want to try something new. I want to bring in, I love the green, but just to play around and see how it looks, maybe make the backdrop a little, you know, yellowish in color. So I'm going to go back here and create a new mask and use a brush and brush all of this, and, you know, and we need to straighten this because as you can see, this line is not straight. We'll do that when we open this. And here, just see if adding yellow I like it. I just
Me
like,
too.
I like that yellow because I think it, I always, I always think of airy pictures as watercolor paintings and moody pictures as oil paintings, which is like, thick paint, strong pigment, and here it's more water flowy. And if you have ever seen a watercolor artist, you'll see things like this a lot in the paintings. And
Yeah.
I open it. And I open it, and I like it, but I need to straighten that because that's really bothering me. And I'm going to say duplicate layer, and I'll say straight, and then crop and slightly. Yep, we got it now. I think that looks nice. I'm going to lower it a bit. Yeah, and I'm going to, yeah. Now you'll all tell me that I missed a spot there. Now the reason that I did that was I don't like anything touching or being cropped, especially if it's a tad edge, I feel that's a finesse in photography, that either you cut it, you're doing it and you cut it right here, or you give it a little breathing room, as I call it, right? Those things become important. So I'm gonna say, again, any guesses for what brushes we are going to use? Spot healing.
Of course. Perfect.
And then you go here, brush is small, and it does such a good job. Yep, you'll see, and it'll not disappoint us. See that?
Wow.
Who knew, right?
Man, it's so good. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
All right. I think I'll be using a new tool all the time now.
See now, even the circular portion of the brush is like perfect. Everything. That's it. So here you go. Now I see a little bit here as well. So I'm going to do that. Clean it up. Yeah, I love that. Now I really like that streak of light that I had done in the previous picture, and just maybe this time we can do a light yellow tone to it. So I'm going to say light. Let's say okay, bring in the color, and that's a green. Maybe I want it more yellow, so I'm going to go here. I like that color. A little creamy yellow. I picked that. Take the brush. I like it at 28, maybe a little more this time. Let's try a 40. Now right click and right click and down to my light, base of light, and just see. No, I don't like this one. And here you can play around. There's so many different versions of it. Maybe this one. Let's try this, but wrong direction. So what do? We change it. Here, perfect. Let's see. Now the one thing about downloading free brushes, they're tiny. They don't make, huge brushes. That didn't do much. So I don't like it. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that. So what I'm going to do is try the brush we used earlier. Remember that we used this one? I'm going to use the same brush, and we're going to put it in this direction. Yeah, make it nice and big so that it falls on the subject. And I think the yellow color again doesn't do much, so I'm going to go back to white. Let's see. I like it, but see that light is never like that. We all know that. So what do we do now? We mask it. Use the mask this little icon here, select that window, go to black, change your brush. You're almost like an artist, that's why I love Photoshop, because it makes you feel like an artist.
Yeah.
Reduce the brush size, it's too small. Opacity is at 40, I'm going to increase it to 100 because I don't want this part of it at all on this that much. And I'm also going to, so I cleaned it up here, then I'm going to reduce the opacity to say a 50, and then the center portion I'm going to remove it. So it looks like somewhere it's peaking, somewhere it's not. Now when it did that, little light fell on this book, right? So we need to show more light here because light, you see that streak coming here. So I take the dodge and I add more light here, so just make it realistic. Oops, wrong window. See what happened? You have to go back here and a little more light here. That's a whole lot more than I wanted. So little more light, just like it's falling in the center. That's it.
Beautiful.
So going back to the image, we started in Camera Raw, we changed it, made it more yellower, we added more light here, and we then straightened it. Then we did spot healing and removed all the side edges here, which was easy peasy. Then we used the light ray and added some light just to bring the outside in, just to make it look like, you're sitting there, it's early morning, you're reading a book and they're just smelling the flowers.
So beautiful. Love it. Well, that's perfect timing because it brings us to Artist Spotlight. So I am going to share my screen and show off who we have today. All right. So we have Tabitha Brooke Photography. Tabitha, I don't know if you're watching or in the chat, but congratulations on having your portfolio chosen today. This is beautiful. I was looking at it a little bit earlier and just absolutely gorgeous work. So we're just going to kind of walk through this. Simi, you can give your feedback as well and give her a little hype sesh.
It's just such beautiful work. I love her work, and it's just, I think the human element just brings out so many emotions. And,
I know.
It's just beautiful. And I loved her muted tones and how she's used, slightly cooler palette.
Oh, me
It's
too.
beautiful.
I love it. I have to click on this one because, oh man, that's amazing. I'm such a sucker for really amazing wedding photography.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Wow. Oh my God. Wow. I wish I hired her for ours. So good. Oh my God. Tabitha, I think I'm going to have to hire you for some photo shoots. I'm going to check out your availability because your work is stunning.
Oh, look at that. Her through the veil. It's beautiful.
Wow.
And just the eye contact with the camera. It's lovely.
Yeah. And I love her colors.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, go back here. Look at her commercial. A few things there. Definitely digging the couples work. It's so beautiful. Love the light here.
I love the light there. Yes. Oh, I love that.
Wow. These are so dreamy. I love the wood setting. It's perfect.
And you can almost feel the emotion of love, laughter, and enjoyment.
Definitely. So good. Let's see. Family. So cute. I love like the rich tones that she uses for her editing. I feel like so often like family, wedding, portrait photographers, it's always very bright and airy. And this is always refreshing to see like the deeper, richer tones. Really awesome.
And I think she's just so good at bringing the emotions alive, just the laughter and,
Definitely. Yeah, it's cool to see and what you were talking about yesterday with the storytelling and really adding that element into your work. You can tell she's doing it here. So pretty.
Oh, I love that one. The last one where she's sitting.
Me too.
Almost like a painting.
I know, it really is. So much emotion in it.
Yeah, so much emotion.
Yeah, Fairy said, I saw a lot of wedding photographers over edit their photos, especially on the skin, but this one is perfect. I agree. I feel like that's always what you see, even with my own wedding photos. It's like it ends up getting over edited sometimes. And it's just like perfect.
Less is more.
Yes. So Tabitha, I'm definitely going to hire you sometime for a shoot with my husband. It'd be super fun. Really love the style. So many galleries. Really great for someone that's planning on hiring her. Got to check out the Insta, of course. Awesome. So beautiful. Love it, Tabitha. Thank you for sharing your portfolio with us. And for those of you that want to have your portfolio seen on one of these streams, be sure to submit it in the Artist Spotlight tab above the chat. And you might have the chance to be featured on here, which would be really exciting. So Simi, we'll go back to you. If you want to just start sharing again.
Can you see my window?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we're back and we have about 20 minutes. So I have something new that I want to do here. So let me open this image and I'm going to try doing something similar when we started, the workshop. So here's an image, and this is not really airy. This is more what you can do to create that kind of, painterly look and what you can do with your pictures. So here is a hibiscus that I really loved. So I tried to, complement it with a green color. I was not in love with this picture and almost, deleted it. Then I said, okay, what can I do with it? So first I'm going to change the color and I'm going to make it more, let's see, more red. Where's the hue? I'm going to reduce the saturation a bit so that it's not that bright. Then change the hue to more pinkish, or maybe, yeah, I think I like it pinkish. That's way too much for me. And then again, change the saturation a bit. Overall image as well. Reduce the saturation a wee bit. Yeah, I think I like it. But I'm going to make it a little more bluer too. Don't worry about the background yet. We're going to get rid of it. Just look at the hibiscus. So yeah, I like it. So now you must be wondering, what is she doing? It looks like washed out backdrop. Don't worry about it. We're gonna now open it because I like the color. I like that color. Now I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to say just the flower. I'm gonna cut off just the flower. Say, okay, we're gonna get rid of the backdrop. So now I'm going to take the quick selection tool and just drag it with my mouse, and there you go. Easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to say cut. What do you have? Just the hibiscus. Look pretty lame right now, but trust me. Go back new, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed now because I'm going to do the same thing we did with Photoshop. Before that, I'm going to choose the color. What color is this? So it's 732936. So let me write that down. If it doesn't come in that window, I know what color it is. 732936. That's the color. Okay. I'm going to say okay. Then go back here, file, new. And this time I'm going to take a square. Say 4,000 by 4,000. And I'm going to pick a color here. Remember the color? 732936. Okay, create. Yay, it did it. Now, this is the hibiscus. I bring it to here. Bring it here, enlarge it. And if you don't get this little box here, just use Ctrl-T. You'll get the box, the enlarging tool. Now here, I like it, but it looks kind of like lame. It's like what's going on here. Firstly, I'll go back to Camera Raw and fix the color a little more. Okay. Because I think the inside looks a little washed out. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to brush it, and I'm going to increase the color pink here. Yeah, a little yellow here because I want to bring in like multiple shades of colors here. So I want to bring in a little yellow here, and I'm going to say, okay, I like it. Now for the fun part. Now here in the backdrop, I'm going to go to the backdrop and create a duplicate layer so that if I dislike it, I'm going to discard it. Say okay. And I'm going to take the magnifying zoom tool and increase it so we all can see. Now I'm going to start picking colors from here and putting textures here so it looks like a painting. So we start with, I like to start with dark tones. So we start with a slightly darker tone. Now this is a tone I pick from here. I go darker in the palette there. Now I pick up my brush and let's see, go back to my watercolor brushes, go down. I think I like a brush I had already picked, and it's, is this the watercolor? Yes, it's the watercolor, and it's called Background Pattern. So if you see it, stop me because it's so, it says background pattern, not yet.
You can also search for it too in the little search bar.
Yeah, background pattern right here. Thank you.
Perfect.
So here we are. Now you see, make it bigger. Voila, I love this. And try to use it. Okay, some amount of pattern coming up there. I'm going to increase the opacity. I'm going to leave the old one there. You can already see patterns coming in. And it will not be in the on the flower because we are working on the background, right? So that's the reason. Then I go back again and I start picking other brushes. Just say Watercolor 3. I love that one. Right here. Now I'm going to pick a lighter color, and this time I'm going to bring in some orange. And here, I'm going to turn the brush around. Now you can see it coming alive, right?
Yeah.
And I like that little tweak there.
Very Georgia O'Keeffe.
Yes. So now just a little more here. Yeah, I love that little line there. Now come back, play more. Well, what about some yellow? How about some mustard there? Go back here, some more. I love those watercolor brushes, so I'm going to say pick 4. And I think it's a bit too much, so I'm just going to use the top part of it. You know, that little round circle there. I like that. Maybe just add a little more here so it adds to that dimension. Okay, then come back and start using darker strokes to add the drama. Come back here again, watercolor brushes. No, no, I think the first one is a nice one. I love this one, yes. But I don't think it's dark enough. So I'm going to re-choose the color to a little darker shade. There we go. Increase the brush size. You'll see you'll love this. And I want the light to, that line to show. So I'm going to do this. Not really. I'm go back to the center and work on it here. I love this texture up here, but it's not really showing, so I'm going to delete it again. Come back here and do it here. Tilt the brush a little. Yep, there you go. See that little blotch there? I love that. Repeat that here. Now I'm going to take Burn tool and go and darken the edges to bring out the flower. Reduce the brush size, and you all know now the left arrow key. And you can spend hours, you know, I've spent hours and hours doing things like this, just having fun.
Yeah.
Now you're really bringing out the hibiscus. You know, I would have literally deleted this picture, but got saved because I'm going to go back to the hibiscus now and add some depth there as well. Just a little bit to bring out those colors. Then go back to dodge. And then, you know, you can create new layers and do this. But I get carried away when I'm working on Photoshop and I'm doing things like this, which is completely Photoshop heavy images. And I love this. I think it looks so beautiful.
I love it too.
Making the flower pop. And what I want to do is, I love this orange here, you know, this orange and yellow mix. I want to bring it back. So I'm going to create a new layer because I already like it. And if I don't like that, I can delete it. And I'm going to bring that color in. I love that color. And I'm going to say, okay. Then go back to my brush, this one. And just try using it here. Oops. Oh, it's a dodge tool. That's why. Go back to it and okay, what just happened? Yep. I think it's a way too much, too bright. Delete it. Mask. I want to mask it. so that I don't want the lower portion, but I love the upper portion. So I'm going to view the mask and then go back here, change my brush, reduce the brush size. It's too much. And just have it on the top there. Don't you love that little
That's so perfect.
texture there?
Yeah, it looks like a shadow.
Yeah. That's it. Now, I love the yellows, but not as much. So I'm going to go back to that layer earlier and use a layer mask and bring down the opacity and have the yellow there, but not as much. Have the yellow here and not as much. Yeah. I like it. I like it now. I love these textures here. I'm going to accentuate that. I'll go back to the layer, go back to my brush, and let me know if I'm too fast right now because we have 8 minutes.
We actually have less than that. We have about 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, so there we go. Accentuate those orange right here, because that's where our color is. Then go back to the flower, and there you go. Now you really want the flower to pop even more. Duplicate layer. Okay, filter, other, remember high pass? This is the time to really push that because we are doing drama here. We're trying to create drama here and make it look like a painting. So overlay. Now, I think we have a couple of minutes, right?
Yep.
Okay, couple of minutes, easy peasy, just darken. Just add little drama. So I'm going to use shadows now. I'm going to use shadows now, and I'm going to just darken everything. So yeah, so days when I'm not shooting and I still have that creative urge in me, this is what I do. I take images that I would have otherwise discarded or thrown away, and I sit and, try to create something out of it. Yeah. So we just started with this backdrop and we put the hibiscus on it. Then we created texture, more textures. Then we did high pass, then dodge and burn, and this is it.
I love it. So pretty. So good. Yeah. It's cool to see pictures like this come to life. So, well, amazing job, Simi. This was really entertaining. Awesome to watch the past 2 days. Thank you everyone for joining us in the chat. Be sure to go back and catch the replay if you missed anything, and stick around for the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge with Andrew Hutch-Rottle, immediately followed by Branding and Identity with Monograph & Co. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.